Imagine being on death row, knowing your time is running out. The clock keeps ticking, your heart pounds. But before the end, one last request is granted. Some might choose a final meal, a favorite song, or a quiet moment of reflection. But for John Wallace, sentenced to the electric chair, there was only one thing he wanted: to see his dog Tobias one last time. What happened after that meeting left everyone speechless. Guards, lawyers, witnesses. No one could have predicted the impact of that moment. A story filled with emotion and unexpected turns that still makes people wonder, how can something so simple change everything? What really happened in that cell? John Wallace felt time slipping through his fingers like fine sand. The stale, metallic smell of his cell, the sound of guards' footsteps echoing through the cold hallways. It had all been his reality for years, but his mind was never really there, trapped behind those walls. No, his heart was still running free across golden fields, where he used to play with Tobyas at sunset. He could remember every little detail: the soft breeze kicking up tiny dust clouds on the dirt road, the scent of fresh grass after a quick rain, the sharp, knowing eyes of Tobyas, glowing like embers under the evening sun. The justice system had been merciless. Every appeal was denied, and his hope of proving his innocence faded with each document stamped "rejected." Lawyers came and went, each bringing a new theory, a new strategy, but nothing changed the reality. His fate was sealed. The prison clock showed no mercy. Outside, life carried on as if he had never existed, while he remained inside, counting down the days. But there was one thing the judges, prosecutors, and guards couldn't take away: his memories. Quick reminder! We know we have viewers from all over the world. Let us know in the comments where you're watching from. And if you love animals, hit like and subscribe. He remembered how restless Tobias would get when John came home late from work. The dog would wait on the porch, lying in his favorite spot, and as soon as he heard the rumble of John's old truck, he'd leap up and run toward him, tail wagging wildly. Tobias never cared about the grease stains on John's hands or the exhaustion on his face. To him, John was all that mattered. And now, facing his final moments, that unconditional love was the only thing he wanted to feel one last time. When the authorities asked about his final request, he didn't hesitate. He didn't want a gourmet meal, didn't want music, didn't need a sermon on redemption. He just wanted Tobias. He wanted to look into his old friend's eyes, feel his soft fur under his fingertips, hear that familiar low grumble whenever he wanted affection. It was a simple request, yet deeply meaningful. And deep down, John knew that even if it was just for a brief moment, it would be the only real thing in the nightmare his life had become. But no one could have predicted what would happen when Tobias walked through those prison doors. Something about that visit would change everything. Something neither the guards nor the lawyers nor even John himself could have imagined. Do you believe the justice system always gets it right? Or do you think mistakes happen? Tell us what you think. Anyone who's ever had a dog knows they're more than just pets. They're loyal companions, always there in the hardest times and in life's little joys. They wait for us by the door when we come home, wag their tails when they hear our footsteps, and curl up beside us when they sense we're feeling down. No matter what's happening in the world, to them, we are everything. John knew this better than anyone. For years, Tobias was his only true friend. When life felt too heavy, when problems piled up like unpaid bills in a drawer, Tobias was always there, lying beside him, listening to his worries without saying a word. On good days, they ran through the fields together, bare feet against the cool earth, the wind tangling in John's hair. On bad days, just one look from Tobias was enough to remind him that he wasn't alone. But now, he was stuck between cold walls while the world moved on without him. The smells that once filled his days, the fresh coffee in the morning, the rain hitting dry earth, the sweet, familiar scent of Tobias's fur, were now nothing more than memories. Time passed strangely in prison, and the silence of the nights was deafening. Sometimes he'd wake up from a dream where Tobias was still there, sleeping by his bed, and for a fleeting second, he'd forget he was locked up. But then, reality would come crashing back like a knife to the chest. Many people know this kind of pain. Who hasn't felt that deep ache when saying goodbye to a four-legged friend? Who hasn't woken up in the middle of the night, half expecting to hear the sound of little paws on the floor, only to remember they're gone? John was no different. His biggest wish before the end wasn't clemency or a fancy meal. He didn't want speeches or last words. He just wanted to feel Tobyas one last time. And when that moment finally arrived, when Tobyas stepped into the cell, something unbelievable happened. The dog didn't hesitate for a second. He leaped onto John as if time had never passed, as if the bars, chains, and walls didn't exist. And in that moment, just for a few precious seconds, John wasn't a prisoner on death row. He was just a man reunited with his best friend. The guards, used to the grim atmosphere of the prison, exchanged glances. They weren't expecting to witness such joy in a place built on concrete, steel, and goodbyes. Even some inmates in nearby cells pressed against the bars, drawn to this rare moment of humanity. But then something changed. Tobias's behavior shifted. He started sniffing John's uniform intensely, tugging at the sleeve of his jumpsuit, as if trying to rip it off. His excited barks turned urgent, filled with something no one could quite understand. At first, the guards ordered John to calm his dog down, but Tobyas wouldn't stop. He pulled, growled, and fixated on one particular spot. One of the guards, intrigued, crouched down to see what had caught the dog's attention. And then something stood out, a tiny flaw in John's uniform, a stitch slightly different from the standard prison issue. The guard's expression darkened. He hurried out of the cell, returning minutes later with a senior officer and a stack of documents. What followed felt straight out of a movie. They began cross-referencing records, re-examining details, and asking questions that had long been dismissed. One officer pulled out an old case photo and compared it to the latest reports. And there it was, a glaring inconsistency hiding in plain sight. The very evidence that had sealed John's fate had a major flaw, something no one had caught before. A planted piece of fabric, a manipulated clue, something so small that only a dog's instincts could have detected it. Tobias, with his sharp nose and unwavering loyalty, had just uncovered the truth. That same night, the case was reopened. Defense lawyers were called in, and within hours, the legal system that had once abandoned John was forced to take another look. The following days were a whirlwind of court filings, testimonies, and heated debates. But in the end, the truth prevailed. John was officially cleared of all charges, and his sentence was overturned. On the morning of his release, John walked through the prison gates with Tobias by his side. The sunlight hit his face, and for the first time in years, he took a deep breath without fear. Out there, a new world awaited him. A world where he and his best friend could start over. And all of it was thanks to one man's final wish, and the unwavering instincts of a dog who never stopped believing in him. Do you think dogs can sense things we don't? Share your experience with us. Dogs have an incredible way of picking up on things we often overlook. They feel our pain, our joy, our fears. They live to love, asking for nothing in return but our presence. Tobias and John's story is a powerful reminder that even in the darkest moments, a dog's loyalty can light the way. Who would have thought that a prisoner's last request would uncover a hidden truth, that a simple reunion between a man and his dog could change the course of fate? Isn't that how life works? Tiny details, seemingly insignificant moments, can lead to the most unexpected turnarounds. Tobias's instincts didn't just expose a grave injustice, they proved that real love never walks away. Maybe you've had a moment like this, when your dog knew exactly what you were feeling before you even admitted it to yourself. A glance, a bark, a small action that showed they understood more than words ever could. Are we really listening to our dogs? Do we notice the signs they give us every day? If you've ever had an experience like this, tell us in the comments. And if this story resonated with you, hit that like button and help us share more emotional stories like this one. because dogs aren't just pets, they're family. They're our angels on four legs. Wait until you see what happens next. If you love heartwarming stories, this one is going to stay with you. Click to watch now.